Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and as the video tells you, I am here to discuss once again the name change for the Washington Redskins. The Washington Redskins, founded in 1933 in the city of Boston as the Boston Braves, a year later became the Redskins. And after winning the NFL championship in 1936, moved to Washington, D.C. in 1937. They would go on to win another championship in I want to say, hold on, I can look it up. 19, no, that's not what I wanted to Google. I didn't want to Google a quarter, Washington quarter. Nope, they missed the playoffs in 41. All right. No, history of the Washington Redskins. Okay. 1937, 1942, as well as 1982, 1987, and 1991. And that last championship being the season that Mark Ripken played way above his talent level and won the NFL for the Super Bowl MVP. And the Redskins went 14-2, losing both games by a total combined 5 points, one to the Cowboys and one to the Eagles. The Redskins, like I said, moved to Washington in 1937, playing at Griffith Stadium before moving on to RFK Stadium in the 70s and 80s, and now moving out to Landover, Maryland, and playing in FedEx Field. Many times during the last several decades, there have been several different protests arise over the name. And let me say something like I said in my last video. I can see where the term could be offensive to some. Me personally, I have Native American blood. I've never seen it as offensive, but nobody's ever called me that in a derogatory term. Of course, if you look, I don't really look that dark anyway. So, I can understand why some might take offense to it, but fine. Now, they did not announce an actual name. There is some legal barriers involving copyright with some dude in Virginia buying up a bunch of potential names. I've heard various rumors about Warriors leading the way. Some people like Red Wolves. Like I said in my last video about the Redskins, said I liked Braves. We'll see. The dominoes are going to fall, though, and I guarantee you the Cleveland Indians will be next. But this video here is to talk about, not about the change, not about the politics behind it or potential new names. It's to talk about the history. The one thing I am very adamant about with this change is that we do not erase and bury the history just because of the name and or logo. The history of the Washington Redskins, aka Boston Braves and Boston Redskins, is that of 5 NFL championships: 1937, 1942, 1982, 1987, and 1991, plus 24 postseason appearances, and also a Super Bowl appearance in 1972, going up against the undefeated Miami Dolphins. There have been several legendary players who have come through the city of Washington and called the Redskins their home. Players like John Riggins, like Mark Rippon, like Doug Williams, like Darrell Green, like Sammy Baugh, Slingin' Sammy Baugh, Charlie Taylor, Bobby Mitchell, John Riggins. I think I already said John Riggins. I'm sorry. Even guys who had a cup of coffee with the Redskins but had been legends elsewhere, like Bruce Smith and Deion Sanders, have worn the colors of burgundy and gold and have listened to the fight song "Hail to the Redskins, Fight for Old DC" playing when their team scored a touchdown. Adrian Peterson, the current member of the Washington franchise, is another one who is a legend in the NFL and has donned that uniform. Quarterbacks from, like I said, from Sammy Baugh to guys like Sonny Jurgensen and Billy Kilmer, Doug Williams, Joe Theismann, a name I didn't mention earlier, Mark Rippon, Doug Williams. Donovan McNabb has worn those colors. Dwayne Haskins, the current quarterback. RG3 in the past. Kirk Cousins. You like that? You know, just to name a few of the Redskins players who have worn the uniform. Um, oh, I'm drawing a blank on number 21 there. NFL player who died in 07 from a home invasion, gunshot wound. He was another great Washington Redskin player. What was his name? Oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting that. John, John Taylor. Remember the hit he put on the Bills punter in the Pro Bowl? Just unbelievable. Just great player. Great players have worn those colors and played for the Washington Redskins. Like I said, 24 playoff appearances, 5 Super Bowl appearances. They lost 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl 7 and Super Bowl 18, which they lost to the Los Angeles Raiders. But today, no more. They will go forward with a new name, a new logo, and a new direction because of political correctness and the PC culture. Well, the Redskins have gone through the coaches. Let's talk about the coaches. Some Vince Lombardi in 1969, and then he was replaced by the legendary George Allen, the Over the Hill gang, as Allen came in and brought in players like Pat Fisher and Jack Pardee, and Chris Hamburger was already there. He had been a Redskin. You know, and of course, bringing in Billy Kilmer to back up Sonny Jurgensen became a huge success. Mike Bass, who scored the touchdown in Super Bowl 7. Just to name a few. The coaches, back to the coaches, Joe Gibbs, the Joe Gibbs era, winning 3 Super Bowls in 9 years with 3 different quarterbacks. Joe Theismann, Doug Williams, and Mark Rippon. And, of course, appearing in 4 Super Bowls in that era. Coaches some other big-name men have gone through Washington to be coaches, like Norv Turner, who didn't have success. Let me go back. Norv Turner, Marty Schottenheimer spent a season with the Redskins, a cup of coffee, if you will. The old ball coach, Steve Spurrier, he had been in Washington. Most recently, Jay Gruden had gotten his chance in Washington. And now Ron Rivera, who has led the Carolina Panthers in the past to the playoffs, he now gets his start in a refresh with the Washington franchise moving forward. My biggest thing, like I said, is I don't want to see the NFL bury the history, bury the name because of its offensive nature to some. For instance, when I say this, I don't want to see them Chris Benoit, the name, like the WWE did when Chris Benoit murdered his family and killed himself, how they completely erased him from record books, how one WrestleMania history even listed the main event of WrestleMania 20 as Undertaker versus Kane, even though the match on after saw Benoit defeat Triple H and Shawn Michaels in a triple threat match to win the World Heavyweight title. I don't want to see the NFL do that. Pay respect to the history and understand the men who wore those colors, wore that logo, whether it be the Native American head on the side of the helmet or the old tomahawk, or even going way back to the feather design in the early 60s. Pay respect to the men who wore those uniforms. Let's leave their highlights, leave their records intact, and don't just say Washington. Don't blur out the images like WWE did with the F when they lost a lawsuit. Understand that you cannot judge what happened in 1933 when they changed their name or 34 when they changed their name to the Redskins with what's going on in the world today. But that's my take. What's yours? In the coming days, we're going to find out a little more what they're going to be called. And, of course, we're still waiting to hear on the Cleveland Indians and whether or not they change. One rumored name I heard was to go back to an 1800s baseball franchise in Cleveland and call themselves the Spiders. The Cleveland Spiders. I actually kind of like that name. But what do you think? What do you think the Redskins should be called now? And what do you think about the change and their history? What are some players I forgot that I didn't mention? Get back to me. Leave a comment in the on the underneath the video. Make sure to click like, subscribe, share, tell your friends about the crazy man in the mask talking about the Washington Redskins. Until then, I'm Vinny Vincent. God bless America.